I'm Brittany. I'm 30 years old. I am a dog mom of one, Kobe, who's 3 years old, and a wife. Recently married, been married for about a year. So just felt this documentary could be and should be representative of everything at all stages and phases of life. And for me, in this journey, I am just learning to navigate day to day life in my new role as a wife, as a friend, a sister, a daughter, all the many hats I wear, a dog mom. Just learning where I fit in. And I think that in this documentary, you will find that the women come from various walks of life and share a wealth of knowledge. I am thankful to call these women my friends, sisters in Christ, and just really sound women who have sound advice, who are always willing to provide ear to listen, a hand to hold, and just really have a story to tell. The whole purpose of this documentary is really just to empower women at all phases of life to know that you're not alone in some of the things you feel, and just provide some fun stories and advice on how to kind of navigate next steps. I really hope that this documentary meets you at your need, speaks to you in some way, gives you, makes you laugh, maybe make you cry, but really just gives you some insight into what's ahead. We know we can't predict everything that's ahead, but just to hear some advice, some insight from people who have experienced various situations and obstacles, I think is helpful. So I hope that this is an enjoyable documentary and you find some positive insight or something that at least brings a smile to your face today. Check this out.
My name is Ashley Barnes. I am 31 years old. I am married to my amazing husband, RJ Barnes. We've been married almost 3 years. We also share a beautiful son, Grayson. He will be 2 in October. Um, I work at Clearbrook. It is a nonprofit agency, and I work with people with intellectual disabilities. So I oversee 4 group homes. So I have about 20 clients that I care for. And everything that you can think of that goes with that, I kind of oversee that, and I also have staff that work in the homes. So it is a very rewarding job. It's a very stressful job, but it has taught me patience. It has taught me to be so appreciative for everything that I have, and to also not take the little things for granted.
My name is Nikita Carrington, and I am 38 years old, turning 39 in November. I am a wife to my husband of almost 13 years, and we have 4 children together. One that I did not birth, who is a girl, and then we have 3 boys that I gave birth to. And I love God.
My name is Shirley Utzi. I am 34 years old. I currently live in Union, Missouri, somewhere I never imagined I would end up. I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's where I grew up most of my life, and then moved to Illinois and have been here happily for the last 2 years. My parents, my dad is a pastor, and I share that because it's had a really big influence, for better and for worse, in my life, mostly for better. I recently got married, so I went from being single with no children to married, and I have 2 wonderful stepkids. My stepdaughter's 8, my stepson is 17, and I really didn't know what to expect in this season of my life, but God has been just amazing and has blessed me beyond anything that I could have ever imagined.
My name is Brianna. I'm 30 years old. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm originally from Chicago.
Hi, my name is Latria, and I'm 31 years old.
So for me, this was a super hard question because so many answers are so cliche. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to say because I want to make sure that what I say isn't cliche. But the one thing that kept coming to mind is don't compare. And right there, I was trying to compare it. See? Still learning. So I have learned, and I still am learning each and every day to not compare myself and my journey to anyone else. What God has for me and what God has set for me is for me. God is the Alpha and Omega, so he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly the path that he has set for you. So don't ever compare. Don't ever look at someone else's lane and wonder why you're not there, because that's not for you. So for me, high school was decent. I got it was cool. It was high school. You learn about yourself. And then it came time to go to college. And I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to major in. Of course, I had some ideas about things I wanted to do, but I wasn't entirely sure. So I went to a junior college first. And for me, that was hard because all my friends were going away. I have, people asking, oh, where are you going? What are you going to do? And it's, oh, I'm going to Harper. And there's nothing wrong with Harper. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But when you're in that mindset of, okay, well, I'm 18, I have to go away to college. And now you're staying, at home when you're going to junior college, it is really hard. But for me, that was literally the best thing that I could have done because it allowed me to really sit and think about what I wanted to do. And so for me, I stayed there for 3 years. So I didn't do the 2, I did an extra year. And so when it was time for me to go to school, I went to Eastern Illinois University. Go Panthers. And so, I went away to school. I started seeing other people that were my age and what they were doing. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I should be going out more. Maybe I should be worried about boys more. Maybe I should be doing those things because these people are my age and this is what they're doing. So maybe I should do that. And so, you're away. You don't have anyone asking you where you're going. You don't have to be at home at a certain time. You ain't got to go to class if you don't want to. So once you realize all that, then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do me. And I did me. And as a result, I had to take a semester off because academically I wasn't focused. And that was really hard to go back and have to tell my grandma. Granted, I didn't tell her I was out partying all night, which is why I didn't go to class, but she knew. And so for me, that was a defining moment when I realized I can't worry about what anyone else is doing. I have to do what's best for me.
Is to be wise with your credit and your spending. And I say that because I graduated from college in my early 20s, and during college, I accumulated unnecessary debt by getting credit cards and wanting to keep up with what everyone else was doing. And there were times after graduating that I didn't get a job right away. And so debt piled up, lived off the credit cards, and just making foolish decisions in my spending that later on affected when we were ready to buy a home after meeting my husband. And so just being wise with your spending and understanding that you don't have to keep up with the Joneses, live within your means, and live like no one else, as Dave Ramsey said, so later you can live like no one else.
One of the most important lessons I learned in my 20s is to surround yourself with people who value you and value your life, whether that's spiritually, mentally, or even someone who you can call on a Tuesday to go have a drink with when you need to unwind. Those are the people who make a lasting impression on your life. Those are the people who will always lift you up. This could be friendships or even romantic relationships. I learned to pay attention to how those people who you believe are important to you, how they react to good news. Pay attention to how they react or give you advice when you're having a rough day or if you've had a bad breakup. I learned that it's extremely important to surround yourself with people on the same wavelength because energy is contagious. I know people talk a lot about energies and it sounds fake, but I learned that also that you can give and give and give, but if the people in your circle only know how to take, they'll go to do all the things they want to do from the energy you've provided. But you're left with an empty tank and nothing left to focus on the things that you want to do. So it's important to have people around you who fill you up.
One of the things or lessons that I learned in my 20s is that it is okay to be your own biggest fan. In fact, I think it's necessary. It is okay to hype yourself up. It's okay to make proclamations that you are good enough, you are smart enough, you are talented enough, all those things. I often had a hard time believing in myself, and I would often look for validation from other people in order to feel good about myself. And that is just no way to live. That's no way to live life at all. It's great to have outside support, of course. It's great to have other people believing in you and telling you that you are doing a good job. But what happens when other people aren't there? It has to definitely start with you. It's so important to believe in yourself. And I know that sounds so cliche. Like, how many times has somebody told you that? How many times have you seen believe yourself on a poster somewhere, or, walking down the hallway in your elementary school and it maybe have a unicorn or a fairy, and it's like, believe in yourself. It's been used and used and used for years, but it's just so true. It's so important to know your value and to know your worth. And it's important to know that you are here for a reason and that you matter. And it's important to know who you are, whose you are. Obviously, God makes no mistakes. You got a job to do. There are things that you are meant to do that nobody else can do like you. And it's okay to know that. It's okay to be great. It's okay to know you're great. And that doesn't mean that you are cocky. That doesn't mean that you are conceited or that you think that you're better than anybody. It just means that you know what you got, and it's okay to know that you got it going on. There's nothing wrong with that. That's completely okay. It's healthy, and like I said, I definitely think that that is necessary.
Protect your peace at all costs. Your peace is the number one thing you have to protect. Because if you don't have peace, there is nothing you can do. You can't function fully. You can't be your complete self if you don't have peace. And I have learned that family is going to cause you to lose your peace a little bit. And if they are, then you have to distance yourself. Friends, if you have friends and, they are causing you to not have peace, you don't need them. Anyone that is meant to be in your life and serve a purpose, they are not going to interrupt your peace. And I had to learn to emotionally disconnect from people. Because if you come in a room and I have to walk on eggshells around you, or you come in a room and I'm nervous and I can't be myself, I don't need that. So I'm going to still respect you, still be cordial, still be cool, but I can't allow you to be in my inner circle, because in my inner circle, those are the people that's going to affect my peace. And if you're affecting it in a negative way, I can't do it. So protect your peace at all costs. And that's just that. And it's okay to distance yourself from people, because you have to learn that you come first. Because if you don't put yourself first, you can't be your full self for anyone else. I can't be a wife. I can't be a mom. I can't be a daughter. I can't do any of those things if I don't have peace. And when you have peace that surpasses all understanding, it is a feeling that nothing else can give you.
But I am a firm believer of treating people how you want to be treated, and being a woman of your word. Say what you say, mean what you say. Just don't be a talker, but be a doer. And so I've learned to be loyal to the people and to the things that I care most about in my 30s. I've also learned to live selflessly, so giving of myself and not making it always about me. And also making sure in my 30s that I live for today, live in the moment, not regret anything, but being able to live because tomorrow's not promised to you.
I have learned in my 30s that forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is for me. I want to move on. I don't want to continue to be consumed by things that are not going to influence my life in a positive way. And in order to be able to move on, I have to forgive for me, not necessarily for the other person. I always will share, I know I have truly forgiven when I am not talking about that topic anymore and I've moved on. I'm not using my energy anymore for something that's just not worth my time. And so I'm grateful for being able to learn that. And another thing is not worrying or not stressing about things that I cannot control. And I know that's a tough one, but really assessing a situation and saying, okay, I've done everything I can. There isn't anything else I can do to change my circumstances right now. I'm handing it over to you, God, and I'm letting it go. And there is freedom in that. There's fear in that because you don't know what that means to let something go. But the freedom is just being able to put your time and energy into something else that's going to better serve you in that moment than the stress and the anxiety and the worry. It's not good for you spiritually, mentally, physically. So I think that's just self-care.
The motto I'm living by in my 30s is that people may forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. I know the saying good vibes only is sort of cliche, but it does hold power. I've learned over the years that we often spend a lot of time focused on the things that won't matter in 5 months or 5 years or even 5 minutes. You never know what someone is going through. You never know where someone is in their life. And you could be the person that turns the tide. By just saying hello, you could be the person who convinces them from jumping off the cliff. You can be the person who convinces them from falling into the deep end. Even if it's something frustrating, not everything requires a reaction. Sometimes it's okay to step back and breathe and let it go.
My journey is my journey. Maybe I'll get it on a t-shirt. I don't know. The reason is because I always compared myself to people around me. All of my closest friends, they are either married, they have children, they're in their careers, buying homes, all of which I have yet to do. I do have a long-term boyfriend, but we're not married yet. We're not engaged or anything like that. I don't have any kids. I haven't bought a home yet, and I just have to remember that is okay. People would a lot of times ask, like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have some kids? You're only getting older. Your eggs aren't going to be young that long. I know. Like, I don't need you to remind me. Like, I know. But God had to sit me down and he had to be like, look, you are my child and the plan that I have for you is the plan that I have for you. It doesn't matter what plans I have for other people. So you can be happy for them, of course, but don't think that just because they're doing A, B, and C at this time means that you need to be doing A, B, and C at this time. That is not always that's just not how it works. God has a plan for me and just me, and whatever is supposed to happen according to his will happen.
Learn the power of your no. And also remember, you have the right to say no to any and everybody. It does not matter who they are. This is your life. Say no. Because if you don't, then you're going to find yourself in situations that make you miserable. You're going to find yourself in situations that's interrupting your peace because it's something that you don't want to do. I was like, oh, do I share this story or do I not? Because it is a very vulnerable story. It is still hard for me because I don't really discuss it a lot, because I don't want to have to answer to anybody and explain myself. But I think this is a great platform for me to do that. So the power of no. So I grew up and I didn't necessarily have a voice. It was yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. Whatever people thought I should be doing, that's what I felt like I should be doing, because I didn't know who I was or what I wanted out of life. And so I've been in church since I was 12 years old, and I love the Lord. I love doing things for him. I love talking about Jesus. That's my homeboy. That's my ride or die. Like, we've been through a lot. And so I've always felt that there was a calling on my life. And so when you hear someone say, oh, you have a calling on your life, instantly people think that it's ministering in a pulpit. And so I remember I came home. So I remember I've always had like dreams of me like standing in front of an audience and speaking. And so to me in that time, I was like, well, maybe that means that I have a call in my life, and that call is to be a minister. And so being, I don't say closed-minded, but being so afraid to explore that, it caused me to think that it was only one thing, and that meant I had to be a minister and I had to stand in front of people and had to deliver a word of God. And so I remember I went home from college one day and I was talking to my grandma, and I was like, oh, I think I have a calling on my life, and it's eating me up inside. I can't sleep. I'm constantly thinking, and I think that I am called to be a minister. And so, I told her. She was super excited. We went to my pastor. We told him. And I remember preparing for my first sermon, and it came so easy. It was one of the easiest things I've ever had to do, because it was a sermon about me and about my life. So it wasn't hard to deliver that. I went up in front of the church and I did it, and I wasn't nervous. It was, super easy, very comfortable. And I remember after, and even before, but I was like, no, I'm not going to listen to that voice. And that voice said, don't do it, because that's not what I have for you. Yes, there's a calling on your life, but it's not that. Be still and listen to me. But when you have so many people that are so excited for you and they are encouraging you, it's like, okay, yeah, this is it. And I remember I did it and I was so excited. And then I would sit and God would say, speak up, say no, speak up, Ashley, because you have to. And I was like, I can't say no now, because I've already accepted this calling. So if I go back, what's going to happen? And it literally took me 4 years, a lot of crying, a lot of praying, a lot of growing up, a lot of learning to say no, to finally come to my pastor and say, this isn't what God meant. And I felt like I had let so many people down, because I was now reneging on something that so many people told me was my calling. And when you listen to other people and you don't listen to God, then there's that confusion, because my walk with God and my relationship with God is just that, and it's nobody else's business. So when I had to go and tell my pastor I was going to step down because that was not what God had for me. Yes, there's a calling on my life, but it doesn't mean I have to stand in front of somebody. That was one of the hardest conversations, because once again, I was saying no to so many people that thought that was a yes for me, and telling my grandma I felt like I had let her down. But it was one of those, I'm proud of you for standing up. I'm proud of you for listening to God and not listening to everyone else, because at the end of the day, that is who is going to hold you accountable. When I pass on and go to glory and I stand before that white gate, my conversation is going to be with God and nobody else. Know in my heart that being a minister wasn't what God meant when he said I have a calling on your life. And for me, it is so important to be transparent with other young people, because people may look at my life and say, oh, it's so perfect, but it's not. And I think as young women in our 30s, we have to be transparent, we have to be honest, we have to be open to younger women so they can see that, okay, it's okay to say no. It's okay to go against what everyone else thinks, as long as what you are going against is genuinely what God has told you to do, not what you want to do because you don't want to do it. So yeah, so the power of no will set you free from a lot of things. Would be know your worth. God created you in his image and you are perfectly made and fearfully made. So know your worth and don't ever doubt it.
I would say to live, be wise, have fun, enjoy life, get to know who you are as a woman. A lot of times in our 20s, we graduate from college or we are in our career and we feel like the next thing is we got to find a husband and we got to have kids and we got to have a house. But you have to take directions from Christ. And so whatever God's purpose and plan is for your life, embrace that. And so if you are single, embrace being single, embrace loving who you are and not trying to live for other people, and then prepare for what God has in store for you. Sometimes we feel like this fairy tale has to happen. We have to have our husband, we have to have our kids, but we set these unrealistic expectations, and when they don't happen, we compare ourselves to others. So making sure that you live for yourself, making sure that you're fulfilling the purpose that God has for you, and enjoy the moments. Don't try to stress and worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own.
I think overall, my advice in your 20s is don't feel rushed. Just trust God and just know that he's got you. And even when things don't make sense, you still trust him. Even when you feel like this isn't possible, we'll know that God works in the impossible. He will make it possible in time. Preparing for this video and wanting to be able to share, God has come through for me in ways that I know I don't deserve. He's taken care of me. Physically, he's kept me healthy when I maybe was making not good choices. You know, mentally, he's protected my mind. And spiritually, he's always guided me. I feel like when I've called on him, he's there. You know, I went through a lot in my first marriage. It was a very lonely period of my life. And there were things that I didn't know how to talk to people about. And so I just kept it inside. And I think the biggest advice is don't do life alone. Find people who share in your ideas and your thoughts and your morals, and go through life with them. Your struggles, celebrate your life with them, you know, the great things. But it's a very sad place to be when you don't have anybody to turn to and walk through those difficult things with you. I was married in my first marriage for almost 9 years, and when we first got married, I really wanted a family. It wasn't happening. I couldn't understand. And that marriage ended. And at 32 years old, I thought, I don't know what's going to happen now. It's probably too late, maybe. Maybe there was something wrong with me, and that's why I couldn't get pregnant. And I got remarried, and I did a trade with God. I said, God, I'm going to give you all the anxiety that comes with the desire to start a family. I've been so blessed with my stepkids, my wonderful husband, a beautiful home, 2 dogs, and so help me to just delight in that. And I found out in July that we are expecting, so I'm 3 months pregnant. So don't sell yourself short. Don't put limitations on God. But secondly is I've been trying to do this video and wanting to share this message and waiting for the perfect time. Some days I'm not feeling great because I'm pregnant, and I think, well, when I get ready for church, when I get home, I'm going to do it, and then I'm too tired, or I'll get up a little earlier and get dressed and get ready for when I head out for this event that I'm going to, and I'll do it before and something happens. And you know, sometimes you just have to do it. There might not be a right time. Your time might just be right now to do it. And this morning I had a couple minutes. I don't look glamorous. I have my glasses on. You can't see them, but I'm wearing sweats and just a t-shirt. But I knew, you know, now is the time. Now is the time that I just have to do it. I can't wait for that next opportunity that feels perfect. It's just doing it right now because I can. So take advantage of those opportunities that come your way. Know that you are good enough for it. And then just do it.
A word of advice to people in their 20s, I would say it's okay. You know, it's okay to be 25 or 26 and still trying to figure it out. You know, social media and all that other BS will have you believing that you need to have everything in your life figured out and have everything together by the time you're 30, and it's just not true. You're still growing, you're still evolving, you still have time. You know, it's okay to have 4 kids or a husband young. It's okay if you don't have any kids or you're single. You know, the world will lead you to believe that there's only one path. And it'll have you believing that something is wrong with you or you made the wrong decisions just because of the values that they've put on you. Your journey is just that, yours. It's okay to walk away from toxic situations, even if people, you know, make you think you're obligated to stick around. Your life and the way you live it and the people you choose to fill it with is yours and yours alone. You don't have to be afraid to seek help if you need it. There are a lot of triggers in this world, and you don't have to bear the burden alone. You know, it's okay to enjoy life and take it all in and take your time. And, you know, you want to realize that it's important that you realize that you are loved, you are cherished, and this world needs you.
That, you know, things don't always go as planned, and that is okay. I don't think you should necessarily put a whole bunch of pressure on yourself for, you know, things to happen strictly like this, only because sometimes life happens. Sometimes, you know, you'll come up with a plan, like a 5-year plan, and sometimes that comes to life just the way you thought it would. But sometimes it doesn't. But that's okay. Just don't let that discourage you. You know, don't get discouraged if life happens and maybe you don't finish school when you thought that you were going to, or you don't have kids when you thought that you were going to, or you stayed at this job longer than you thought and you thought that you would move up by now. That doesn't mean that you should give up on these things. That just means to be patient with the timing, and that it's okay if things didn't happen right when you thought that they would.
Well, my name again is Brittany, the creator of Chapter 30, the documentary. So one of my first questions is, name a lesson or lessons I learned in my 20s. One of the biggest lessons I learned in my 20s is to really allow yourself grace. It's okay to fail. I think that's something that's extremely hard to come to grips with, having been a young, recent graduate at the age of 22, I believe, 22. I think you have this mindset as a millennial, especially, like, okay, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to fall into the dream career. For me, that was radio broadcast, be on the news, be on the radio, some form of being seen. I always felt like being an actress was my calling. In life, after graduating from undergrad, I learned that what I thought was my passion was not what God had for me. Having taken on various careers, I worked in insurance, I even worked in baking. I hate math. And discovered really that I'd always been drawn back to working with kids. You know, been called And it was after reading the book by Rick Warren, A Purpose Driven Life, where I was like, whoa. It really just gave me clarity. Like, God has called something of me, and I can try to deny that for financial gain if I want to, but He will continue to bring you back to that calling, because this is something that was designed for me before I arrived here on earth. So that's number one. We'll get to that down the road. But the big thing I would say, the lesson that I've learned and that I carry with me into 30 is it's okay to fail. The only way you know what you like in life and how to be successful is by falling and failing. Failure is your greatest teacher. You might fall into some jobs or fall into some situations that you learn from them. So don't be afraid to fail, and use failure as your teacher to move forward and do better and greater things. My motto that I live by at 30 is intentional living. This has been something that is hard for me, but to live intentionally, what that looks like. I don't do things, I don't go places that don't bring me peace and that I don't want to be a part of. If in your mind, I actually heard somebody say this, I'm gonna have to give her credit. I believe this was Rachel Cruz, yeah. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So with that being said, if the things you are invited to do, partake in, if you're not driven to be like, hell yes, I'm in, take your time, decline, don't do it, whatever makes you happy. You go where you're led to go. And that has been something really I've been trying to live out prior to 30, but definitely in 2020 and this year, I said I will do things that sit right with my soul and that satisfy my soul and that bring me peace, and surrounding myself with what brings Brittany peace. Words of advice to those in their 20s. My biggest advice to young women, men too, in their 20s is to really follow your dreams. I know this is something that we're told all throughout our life, but I seriously mean it. I, at 25, was a career changer. Slightly after my 25th birthday, returned to graduate school, pursued my master's degree. I am currently completing my licensure after several obstacles, mentors, and God pushing me to not give up on myself. I have decided to complete my licensure and go into education. I'm studying to be an English teacher. So for me, I would say always follow your dreams. The thing that you feel you keep coming back to, pray on it, think about it, sleep on it, and allow God to lead you. I truly believe that your purpose is something that was designed for you before you were born. So discovering that and discovering the things that you like to do, whatever leads you back to that, follow your dreams. I think that society has trained us to follow money. When you do what you enjoy, you will never work a day in your life. That is something that I find a lot of people struggle with, but finding the things that bring you joy constantly are the things that you'll find peace in. My second piece of advice would be focus time in developing your brand and finding out who you are. I think in life, along the journey, you're going to rediscover who you are time and time again. As you grow into who you are, if you find that the person that you used to be is at a battle with the person you're becoming, and it's a good thing, it's growth, but you still need help. Be okay with seeking guidance. I have a bunch of friends, and friends that you know are wise counsel, people who you can go to who are, for me, believers in God, who can encourage me and back it up biblically. That, for me, really changed the way I look at the Bible and look at my relationship with God. I think in this season for me, being grounded in God is what's pushing me past any obstacles in life that I may come to. I think it's important to find a strong inner circle. But then two, if there's still things you're battling with, be okay with seeking therapy. I think there is a stigma that therapy is a bad thing. And it is what it is for whomever it is. But there are some benefits. So be okay with that. Be okay with the unknown. be okay with not knowing everything that's going to happen in the future. I think a big hurdle for a lot of young people in their 20s is they want to plan sometimes everything next step, and sometimes you just have to enjoy the journey, the good, the bad, and different. You just have to be willing to take each day one step at a time and be okay with what is in store for you. Thank you for tuning into the documentary Chapter 30. I want to thank the ladies for being a part of this documentary and this journey along with myself. Thank God for the friendship and the fellowship we've had during this experience. I appreciate you all more than you know. I hope you all enjoyed. Happy New Year, and thank you for watching.